Okay, here we go. We're going to use the game timer that we just created in order to um, set a timer in our game and start having events happen and start responding to those events so that we can animate the ball that we have going on in the scene. Now, just one little quick update here to the ball class. I had set the physics view for the ball class and set the X and Y velocity. If you have this in your ball class, take it out. We don't actually want to do that. We were just testing out whether the physics view worked correctly, and I didn't take it out previously. So take that out so that the ball starts, and when I run the program, I see ball sitting at the top of the screen. You should have the shoe in there as well because you've done that, right? Okay, let's get the animation timer going. So I made a game timer object, and I'm just going to call mine T for now, equal to a new game timer, and I need to supply it with a game tick object. But I don't need to give an actual object. I can store a lambda expression which will redirect where that tick method is supposed to go. The tick method takes one parameter. It's a double, and it represents the amount of time in seconds. So I'm just going to call it time. That's going to be a double number. And I'm going to redirect this to a game update method that I'll write in a second, passing it the parameter time. Okay, let's quickly look over here at the game timer class. The interface for GameTick needs a public void method. I don't have to name it tick because I'm using the lambda expression to redirect to anything I want to name it, so I can call it game update. That's okay. But it does need to accept one double parameter that here I've called elapsed time, but again, I can name the argument whatever I want to name the argument. So I'm using time as the argument and passing it to the game update method. Let's write the game update method. It's public void to match the tick definition, and I'm calling it game update, and I'm passing it a double parameter, and I can call the parameter whatever I want, like elapsed time or t or anything. Just remember that this variable time, whatever the value is being passed to this parameter elapsed time. In this method, we refer to it as elapsed time. What would I like to do with it? Let's just see how fast this actually runs. So system.out.println elapsed time. Let's see how often we're getting our game update method called when it starts getting called. Now, if I was to run this right now, it's not getting called. Why not? Haven't started the timer. So let's add that. No, not stop. Start the timer. Let's add that to our start method. When I run the program, it's going to be in the way, but there it is, running nice and quick. And you can see that most of these are calling on an average about 0.0166 seconds apart. Sometimes they're a little more, sometimes they're a little less, but average about 0.166. If you do 1 divided by 60, guess what you're going to get? 0.166. JavaFX is trying to have 60 frames per second and is calling the game update once per frame. That's going to work out great. It's going to give us nice, smooth animation. So let's do that. Let's try and get the ball to be animated. So I'm going to erase. I don't want to keep printing out the time. I want to start doing something with the ball here, right? Our sprites have an update method that takes an amount of time that has elapsed. And they're already preset to add the velocity to the position every time they get an update based on how much time has gone by. Perfect, exactly what I want to happen. If I run this right now, nothing's going to happen. Why not? Ball doesn't have a velocity. Let's set a velocity for the ball. So ball dot set y velocity, and I'm going to set it to let's say 75. Okay, you might ask, 75 what? What's the unit here? The unit for velocity would be pixels per second, right? The calculation will do the elapsed time times 75, figure out how many pixels should move over that 0.0166 seconds, and add that to the position of the ball. Since I'm doing positive y, that should move the ball straight down the screen. If I test that, there it goes. So there's 75 pixels per second. You want the ball to go faster, make the number higher. And just to test it, of course, let's do some x velocity as well. How about 25 pixels per second x velocity? And now we're going on a bit of an angle because we're moving in the x direction and the y direction. And there you have it, a little bit of animation going on. In the next videos, we're going to start looking at, okay, for the game update, how do we do a little bit of game physics so that, for example, when the ball starts to fall, it moves under gravity? And what happens when the ball and the shoe collide? So look forward to that in the next videos.